Um, I bet there's loads of them out there. And to me, that's very frustrating because if you physically can do that, you can physically get out your arse up and go to fucking work. Don't let your disability rule who you are. And there's been other comments people are saying that these mobility cars are being used by drug dealers or people who are selling illegal tabs or you can get a job. But what they want is they want the luxury of to be able to make extra money, have no working hours, not have to answer to anyone, free to come and go as they please. I want to pop in the bar, I want to go here, I want to go shopping. Hello everyone and welcome back to Staying Alive. Just thought to pop on here, just reading through the one comment I got on one of my shorts today from a Mike Dunn /E2X and his comment sparked off something. I thought that may be a good point for a video. Not his actual comment, but so what I'll do is I'll read out his comment. I don't think there's anything defamatory or I think he's been horrible or anything. He just put on, too many people in the UK are scrounging off the system. If you can walk or talk, you can work. Now, about people, especially a lot of people out there with a disability or a severe illness would take offence to that. And the barriers would go up and he'd be probably the worst person in the world. But I so agree with his comment. Well, I do agree with his comment. If you can walk and talk, maybe you can work, and I have replied to his comment, on where I see situations where this wouldn't be possible for certain types of people, and it's not one shoe fits all. But I'm on the side of, regardless if you've got a disability or not, you should be able to try and find a way to benefit yourself, benefit your lifestyle, have more in life. Don't let your disability rule who you are. Don't think the systems are just hand everything out to you here. I think it's unfair for you to assume that. And there's been other comments people are saying that these mobility cars are being used by drug dealers or people who are selling illegal tabs or just doing illegal jobs or like fiddle jobs using the cars. And I probably believe 100% there is. I bet there's loads of them out there. And to me, that's very frustrating because if you physically can do that, you can physically get out your arse up and go to fucking work. You can get a job. But what they want is they want the luxury of to be able to make extra money, have no working hours, not have to answer to anyone, free to come and go as they please. I want to pop in the bar, I want to go here, I want to go shopping. And they just think they'll just do what they want, because they'll get benefits as well. So when they can't make any money, at least they're getting some again, and now got all the bills. That's and but we've got I've seen it for years, seen it growing up. The people that would never work, just thought that they could just live off the benefit system. It was beyond me watching these people, and these are the ones who just have kid after kid, just to never have to go get out and get a job or contribute to society. In this day and age, you need to work. You need, if you want things in life, because a lot of things these people have, you can't be doing it. You can't be living the lifestyles you're living and buying all the goods you have and stuff without doing something fiddle or something illegal. Probably more fiddle. An odd job for someone, an odd job from someone there, making cash in hand. It's frustrating, especially when they're using the benefit system, especially for the benefits for those for disabled people. And then people are like us disabled people are genuine, who, if we could work, would go to work, where I could go to work, and I did go to work. And, after transplant, if I'm well enough, I'd like to go back to work. Because I don't want to be in this house 24/7, 7 days a week. Or if I can just make these videos, and try and make some sort of income, sell it. I'm an artist not by trade, but I'm an artist. If I can start promoting my art on here and maybe start getting some revenue by selling prints of my artworks, or maybe t-shirts or anything like that, then that way at least I'm contributing. I'm working again. It's self-employed. Something. But obviously I haven't got the subscribers. So please subscribe. Please like and comment. It helps the channel grow. It helps get this message across. All I want to do is spread good. So that's why I relayed back to this comment in regards to what this Mike had put, saying that there is circumstances where these people can't do that, and agree 100% with them that you should go to work. So the video was about mainly, all this rambling is so what do we do to facilitate this? How do we make it more easy to get disabled people back in the work? I think the biggest barrier in it is the statutory sick pay and the sickness benefits. For someone who's healthy, doesn't have any underlying conditions, the way employers use this rule for the sickness, and it falls off of any like 1, 2, 3 rates. So that's what all of them normally do. That's what most of my employers ever did. They can work within them parameters, and then there's that reasonable scope for, they might have had a chest infection, but then they got a viral bug, where they never off the toilet or thrown the guts up. And the work within parameters of that there's not really, it'll be recorded, but they're not going to come down heavy if you've got a lot of time off. But when you've got a disability and you get these bugs that would take someone off the feet for 2 or 3 days, it can take you off your feet for 2 to 3 weeks at some points with a disability. And then if you get more than one of them every other month, it could be around 6 absences within a year. And by their own scoring systems, you'd be out of a job. So that way you are protected if you've got a disability, because it's then just classed as it's because of your own illness. But what happens is the sick pay is still the same as everybody else's, and I think that's where a lot of people choose, disabled wise, I would think, to not go to work because of the chance of being unwell. And when you're unwell, you're going to drop from having a reasonable salary, to having, I think it's £75 a week statutory sick pay. Now, if you've went to work and you've been working 10 years and you're young when you've got a disability and you decide to buy a house and you decide to buy your own car, because you don't want the handouts, and then you keep getting wiped out of work and you've got no sick pay to turn to about £75 a week, you're going to struggle to pay your mortgage, pay your bills, pay your council tax, buy your food. And it puts you in a place where then you're going to lose your house, you lose your car, and then you're back on council housing. Because with a disability, you can't get insurance on your mortgage to protect you of loss of job. You can't get insurance on your car to protect you of loss of job or income. Because you already know and you're aware of the disability prior to applying for these things. And a lot of people don't understand that. So if you're able to do that, that's some sort of safety that you can put in yourself by spending a few pound getting this insurance cover. But it's not there for us disabled people. It's null and void. People with terminal illnesses or long-going health conditions that they're already known about will never get life insurance. So if you've got life insurance prior to being diagnosed of having some sort of illness or long-term health condition, please never lapse a payment. Because you lapse one payment, they will never restart that policy. Because you're already a payout factor. You're too much of a risk. They're never going to want you to have that cover. Insurance companies do anything in the world to get out of paying you. So by being diagnosed with an illness, especially when you're younger, as a child, your parents don't preempt and put life insurance on you before you're born. Maybe you should, looking in hindsight. that if your partner's pregnant, great, let's get this Ben insured, get life insurance, and that way it's a lottery, isn't it? At least if they get any health conditions from birth onwards, to cover them on insurance. But when an insurance company do that, probably not. They'll probably want to wait to find out what the child's health is before you can insure a child. And if you find the child's health not good, you're never going to get insurance. So you're never going to have that safety net that people who are healthy that have when it comes to buying houses and buying cars. So that's how, that's why the Motability Scheme was there. To allow people who will struggle financially to get cars or be able to keep them if they've lost a job or lost income. So it's what does government do to keep women work? Do you change the sickness benefit system for disabled people to match the salaries? But then that could be deemed unfair, because you could have one person who's working minimum wage and God bless them, they're going out every day and they're working hard, to have a lifestyle, to have more. But then there's another disabled person who managed to get higher paid jobs, maybe double their income what they're on, through education or through a skill set they've got. Is the government going to then say, well, we'll pay what your weekly rate is as a safety net? So then it would have to be, if that was the case, it would have to be then these people have to be taxed differently as well to cover that rate, because one person could be getting £20,000 more a year if they're on long-term sick. Sometimes you can have sick months. Some people can take up to 6 months on the sick, can't you? So say you're on 20 grand a year, you get 10 months. That 10 months you get off the government at 10 grand. And the other person's on 40 grand a year, so you get 20 grand that 6 months. The ballpark doesn't seem fair then, does it? Because you'd always, and this is the problem, you always look at what other people have got and not what we've got. And I think that's where the greed factor comes in this country, and that's why the hate factor comes into people with disabilities and stuff, thinking they're getting free handouts, And I really believe that is a driving factor, like where all the stigma comes from, because I just think it's everyone's on the take. And one of the reasons I want to do this channel is to try to eradicate this type of thinking, this idea of how people are now perceived. But there is other factors of people out there who are milking the system, or are not doing any favours by flaunting the lifestyle they do. Never going to work, never going to achieve anything. The most they'll ever have is maybe the kids, which will be their biggest achievement in life, but they've never contributed to society or felt either a contribution. But to them, they think they've got a great life. So how do we fix this? Would other people in society be happy that they have to work, but when their sickness benefit runs out, the government won't help to support them to stay in work because they haven't got a disability? That would be deemed unfair as well. So it's one of the hardest things to do. So do we just let the system run the way it is, or do we try and back it with financial support just in case? So I think it should be more of a backing with financial support, but I think it should be a factor that this support should be only for certain amounts of time, certain periods of time. So if it is a case that this person's off a lot more than what would be deemed reasonable, maybe that person just isn't well enough to carry on within that job. But that then means that person then would become unemployed and go back on state benefits. And then they're at a disadvantage because they're on a lower income again. So it's vicious. It is. It's vicious. It's hard. It's hard enough living with a disability day to day, and just the struggles you get. Depending on what your illness is, from pains to breathing to feeling like a person, just not just wasting away, sat indoors, struggling at times. So yeah, thanks for that, Mike. That comment really did help make this video. It's something that maybe the government is always looking at. This is one of the things they say the PIP reform was meant to be for. How do we get disabled people back into work? maybe it's about time the government started asking other members how we get disabled people back into work. Start doing a survey of disabled people. You know, start sending it out to everybody who's on PIP. Some sort of questionnaire, everybody who's on any sickness benefit. Questions, what would help them get to work? What safety nets would they need to allow them to return back to work? And then again, it's on the employer as well, isn't it? The employer's making the sacrifice of not employing somebody because this person takes up that employment, but then this person may not be in work a third of the year, and then that falls on the rest of the employers to make that up. And a lot of the employers, especially smaller employers, can't make that deficit up, and they're going to struggle, and they can't make the payments to the employee for long-term sickness unless it's aided by the government. So like you say, there's a lot of questions to that. I just thought I'd do this short video, or shortish, but thanks very much for listening. Like I say, please subscribe, please like, please comment, and let's help grow this audience, and let's help get this message spread out, and let's just start all getting educated and all start looking at each other as equals and respecting one another, but as always, stay alive.